Welcome back. I'm Eric.
And I'm Kevin, and this is Exploring Whiskey, where we will be sampling whiskeys from around the world.
Today we're going to continue our tour through Buffalo Trace, and we're going to be sampling the Weller Special Reserve.
Special Reserve is a wheated bourbon, straight bourbon, coming out of the Buffalo Trace Distillery. 90 proof is where this is bottled, and there's no age statement necessarily on the bottle. The rumor is somewhere in that 7-ish year range. It is the mash bill 1. So a lower rye, they don't share their specific numbers, but it's estimated less than 10% rye, heavy on the wheat. So we're going to crack her open. This will be the maiden voyage, for this bottle at least.
Get a nose in there.
Oof. This is
very light lighter in color.
Yeah, very light, more orangey, amber kind of color there, but
nose isn't very strong.
No, not a high oil to that at all. The interesting part about the Weller line is a lot of the mash bills that are used for throughout really a lot of the different Buffalo Trace lines is exactly the same that's used for the golden goose of all whiskeys, if you can find it, is all the Pampé Van Winkle line.
Yep.
Same mash build, different houses that it's aged in, different types of barrels, type of oaks, but they will have a reminiscent note.
I think you consider them the pioneer of the wheated bourbons.
Yes.
All right.
Basically off the note is a lot of sweet. The caramel, the brown sugars, not getting too much of a fruit at this point.
A little bit of that alcohol burn on the beginning. Actually, a little bit on the end too. For me, at least.
I get it towards the end. There's a spice or a burn at the end of that taste, but in the very beginning it's just sweet. This is a sugar bomb of a bourbon. It's a great bourbon, honestly.
It's such an easy drinker. I know.
Before I got more into whiskeys, my always go-to was the Maker's Mark. I just drank. This was my first experiment outside of Maker's Mark. Someone shared it with me. Boy, did that just change. Oh, it can taste that good. It's that sweet. It's totally different. But Maker's Mark is a wheated bourbon as well. There's some wheat in Maker's Mark, and Larceny has the same kind of thing, but this is so much better.
Kind of aerated like you do when you sample wine. It gets really, really sweet.
Yeah, a lot of brown sugar.
Yes.
A lot of brown sugar in that. It's funny, that's not what I got on the nose. I got caramel on the nose, but a lot of brown sugar as soon as you start to taste that.
I don't get much off the nose at all.
It's very light.
Yeah, this was my first introduction to the Weller line, and to this day, Special Reserve is still one of my go-tos, one of my favorites. But like the rest of them, they are hard to come by. Even Special Reserve, which is kind of, I would say, their entry bourbon.
Yeah.
Typically $30, but I've seen it other places for $7.50 up in the 50s and 60s, sometimes even $75 a bottle, which is way too much.
Yeah, once you start getting into multiples of an MSRP, that's just not right.
But for $30, this is well worth it.
Yeah, and easily 5 years ago, $25.
Yeah.
You'd find it. That high 20s. You'd find it in that range with no problems, and well worth that money. $30, still worth that money. Well, once you hit that 40 or 50 range, it's if you need a bottle, then you might grab it for that dollar amount, just because it is.
If you haven't had it yet and you really want to try it,
it's worth it.
You want to put the bottle on your bar cart, then I think it's worth it.
Super sweet, finishes with a little bit of maybe oak. It's not just alcohol. There's just like, it kind of fishes with that oak tannin
Yep.
kind of thing.
Get it.
Again, if it's been in there for 7 years, it's going to pull some of that. Super smooth, great on a cube. Doesn't need it.
It doesn't. This one is. I don't think it needs it at all.
Doesn't need it, but great on a cube. It just
As sweet
a
as
little
it
bit of
is.
water in a 90 proof just kind of opens it up just a touch, and it makes it, cools it off and makes it super sweet at that point. It's really nice that way.
But I'd say if you like Kevin, who kind of tiptoed us into the bourbon world, this is definitely a good one to start with.
Yeah, this is a great beginner introductory to the world of bourbons outside of those huge labels of a Maker Mark, Knob Creek, or Wild Turkey.
This was a tasty one. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's definitely up there on the top of a list of a bourbon that's in a price range that's easily an everyday drinker.
If you haven't had it, I'd recommend trying it, especially if you're out for dinner. You see it on the menu, I would definitely order a pour or two. It's well worth it.
Absolutely.
If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the like button.
And while you're down there, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so that you get updates every time we post. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers.
Cheers.